Nice dress. Jesus Christ!
Hi!
What the hell is going on here?
Where am I?
You're in the funeral home.
I'm in the funeral home.
Yes, ready to get embalmed. What the hell happened to you?
I was on a Tinder date. I guess it didn't go very well.
Oh.
I don't think he's going to be calling me again.
Well, it sucks to be you.
It does because, wow, I think I was in the morgue.
Oh, yeah? Well, you're here now with me.
That's not a good sign, is it now?
That sounds about right.
So, if I remember, I was outside of my body, and all of these cops came, and then I remember seeing my body go to the medical examiner's office, and then after that, I remember they kept me in a refrigerator for 3 days, and I remember hearing one of the medical examiners and one of the crime scene investigators say that they needed to keep me to check for bruising on my neck.
Right.
So you can still bruise 72 hours post-mortem?
Yeah, exactly. It's called post-mortem stain, hypostatic congestion. It happens in the independent parts of the body when circulation is stopped.
And it still proceeds afterwards, which could definitely give the information that they need when someone is a victim of a crime.
Exactly.
So that makes me that victim, by the way, and they need to find this guy. So we need to do what we need to do as far as all of the information that wonderful crime scene investigation is going to bring justice. But for now, what happens to me here?
You're going to get embalmed.
How do you embalm me?
There's something called the anterior cervical triangle in your neck. There houses the internal carotid artery, the external jugular vein, and the vagus nerve, which is the 10th nerve, cranial nerve, which calms down the heart when it overreacts. I'm going to use the carotid artery to inject embalming fluid into you and use the jugular vein to drain the blood. The blood is what makes the body goes bad with the pathogens, medicines, and decomposition.
Wait, so as the body is being drained of the blood, you're replacing it at the same time?
We're replacing it with alcohol, formaldehyde, esters, formalin, things of that nature.
That is very interesting because I didn't know it was simultaneous.
Yes, simultaneous. One is coming in and one is coming out. The embalming fluid, as you can see, is the color red because it interacts with the way the blood is red in the circulatory system.
So my question is, once you start that, and that you're saying that has actually entered into my neck.
Yes.
And then once you start that filtration, how long does that take?
Because you were in the morgue for 72 hours, got to make sure we get good drainage. So maybe 30 minutes because you got to inject really slow to bring out the blood clots. In comparison to somebody that's freshly passed away in a nursing home, there's very little red blood clots because it just happened.
Oh, so that's over that period of time that makes it a little bit more difficult for you, I would assume.
Yes, if you go fast, the body will, if you inject really fast, high pressure, the body won't get the fluid. You do it slow, the body will go.
What happens if the body doesn't get enough fluid during the time of the embalming?
It's like laying down and you're drinking water. You're not really drinking it, it's just going in and it's coming right out. So the body's not getting the fluid. As you're standing up, you take your time with it, go real slow, the fluid is going in. It's the same thing as embalming fluid.
Is it harder to embalm obese people?
Yes, the arteries are deep in people that are obese. The arteries are deeper and smaller.
Really?
Yes.
Really? So vascular-wise, it's smaller?
Yes, it's smaller and definitely deeper because you have a lot of adiposia, a lot of fat in around the subcutaneous area and the legs.
So that takes even more time. So you're not in that 30 minutes any longer.
Yes, it takes a lot more time because the body's bigger, the arteries are smaller, and the fluid has to be distributed throughout the circulatory system.
Now, what's one of the problems that you may have when a body comes in that's super decomposed? Because I have had those bodies that are super decomposed that I've had. And one of the things that I do have to ask you, and we're going to jump back to that question. So leaving from the medical examiner's office and having the autopsy from here to here opened, cavity, and the organs taken out for a proper autopsy, I know for a fact, because I've done many of them, that the organs go in a bag, they go back into the cavity, and it's sewn up.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people do not know that, but that is factual. Now, my question, because I always wondered this, when I sent that body to you per family, what do you do when that body is taken out of the bag?
Well, we wash down the human remains, then we open up the body and we'll take out the bag. In that bag contains the visceral organs. And as we take the organs out, we'll put in the cavity fluids. It's a high index, and it'll neutralize some of the pathogens. And we close the bag up, put it back to the side. Then we arterially inject 6 points of the body: the femorals, two axillaries, and the carotids, left and right. 6-point injection.
Interesting. Because now that is vacant from having that in there.
Yes, it's not
there
there
So this
anymore.
is a different embalming now because of the fact that we've already taken out the brain, the liver,
Yes.
the heart.
Yes.
Okay.
All of that is inside the bag, and all of that has to get through to see what the person, what trauma, what organ, every organ has to be gone through to see what trauma the person went through.
Well, we do that when we're in the midst of working in a crime scene. So when the crime scene comes in, if I have multiple stabbings, or if I don't even have any reason and we just suspect something that we have to claim as an autopsy. So all of those organs are always inspected extremely carefully. Some unfortunately have bullet wounds in it. Some are stabbings.
Yes.
One of the worst shootings I ever had was actually from the side of the body. Went right straight through. A lot of people don't realize you shoot somebody from the side, you're hitting an organ.
Yes.
Most movies, it's always straight ahead,
Yes.
but people don't realize it's from the side.
Exactly.
So you and I are on the same page there. My point being, so since those organs are out, you are now putting them into the plastic bag.
Yes.
You're doing with whatever substance you have in there. Are you actually embalming them one by one afterwards?
Yes, I embalm. It comes in a bag. Then I have to take the organs out of the bag and place them in another bag. They're still encased in the first bag it comes to, but I put them inside of another bag. I double bag it.
Interesting. And then does that go back in the way it came here?
Yes, have to put it back in.
So you're buried with the same plastic bag and the organs in the cavity the same way as when we sent the body here from the crime scene.
That's exactly what happens.
See, I needed to know that because so many times when I was done with an autopsy, I was like, what is this guy going to do or this girl do with these organs? And now to know that they're embalmed, that's very interesting that they're embalmed separately.
Right.
And then put back into the body cavity.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking right before that, because you're so interesting. We were talking before that, and I wanted to ask you about, I've had very decomposed bodies. I have had extremely decomposed, I've had to do work on and do autopsies on, and we all know there is massive disintegration.
Yes.
I've had brain non-exist. I've had it literally into a meltdown. So now on that decomposed body, how do you do that? Because I know what that looks like.
Those bodies have a lot of tissue gas. And what happens is those bodies are usually not viewed, but sometimes people from overseas, people from different parts of the world that come here, they pass away, they want to go back home. So they have to be chemically treated. And that way, you raise the artery, you try to raise the artery, you want to raise the artery, you try to get the vein if you could. If not, you inject, let the body get the fluid, and then you aspirate. Same as you do a regular case, but it's going to be, hard to be around because of the smell.
I've done that.
Yes.
I've had a week in the back of a car in hot July.
All right. Wow. Yeah.
I've
Wow.
had maggot men. I've had you name it, and I've had it. What we're trying to do today is actually have everyone embrace the knowledge of someone that has went to school and dedicated his life to doing this as a science and a profession. And people ask me all the time, how did I enjoy being a crime scene detective and doing autopsies? You said it the best. You said it's science. And in that knowledge of it being science, we make a difference. We are finding the people that did bad things to other people. We are dedicating our life to that. And you are doing that beauty of sending off life in a very respectful way. And I think a lot of people look at it and they're a little creeped out. And I don't find it that way. You?
No, I don't. It's a natural process. It's something that's going to happen. So, eventually one day we all going to have to live with it.
Or not.
Or not. So
for here,
that's why
I
we
have a question. So a lot of times, another question I had was when I would walk in, sometimes people die very tragic. When I got there, it wasn't sunshine and peaceful. And so my question is, sometimes I had very horrified looks on their face. And I was wondering, is there a way that the face is manipulated and changed during process of viewing?
Well, it's like this. If a person smiled during life, they're going to have a smile. They're going to have a grin on them. If a person wasn't too much of a smiler, they're not going to smile too much. But what happens is some funeral home can pin the lips like they would do with Joker and pin it back. And at the time of the viewing, they take the pins out.
Like real pins? Like
pins that go into a shirt.
Okay.
And
straight pin.
Straight pin, exactly.
10-4.
Put it in here, smile it up, and then at the day of the viewing, pull it out, because the embalming fluid will have the body fixated, so the person will be in a smell.
It gets hard. Why does it get so hard?
Because the alcohol dries out the tissues. And the formalin, the formaldehyde dries the tissues out, and it will make the body firm, stiff. And it aids in the body not decomposing.
And sometimes the skin still moves over on top of it. So I always wondered, now you're telling me, so it's that hardening of the tissue with that skin on top that still moves.
Yeah, I mean, the skin is elastic. It stretches.
So it stays.
Yeah, exactly. And in due time, it'll all firm up and then start to deteriorate.
Well, the deterioration is so natural, and I think it's better. Nobody wants to linger here if they're not in control. So
yes.
When people get bugged out, no pun intended. When people get bugged out over it, you have no control of your body anymore. This place is no longer in existence. I think the deterioration for me is the best part of it, to say, hey, it's got to go.
Yes.
I don't know. It's not my house anymore. So it's a good way to look at that. Now, okay, the eyes. So when people die with their eyes open, had that a lot too. In the movies, people walk up and they're like, oh, they closed them down. Hell no. So how do you keep the eyes to close?
Well, the eyes is one of the first things that decompose because of the moisture. The more moisture something has, the more it decomposes. What happens with the eyes is there's something the funeral manufacturer makes something called eye caps. And there's something that you put inside the eyes, the shape of the eyelid, and they put it underneath the eyelid, and you close it, use a crazy glue, and just close it down, and then that's it. It forms out the eye, and it had little ridges on it so it could stay on, the upper eyelid could stay on top of it.
So it's like a dead contact.
Yes, exactly what it is, a clear dead contact.
Fabulous. Because you know what? Now coming to light, I'm thinking back and saying, I never realized how smooth those eyelids are, because without that, they wouldn't be. They would be sunken in.
Yes. Not everybody needs eye caps, but a lot of people do.
You would say majority rule?
The longer you've been deceased, the more likely you're going to need the eye caps.
Now, what about, okay, someone was in a horrific accident.
Okay,
because that's life. And I think that comes in here probably quite a bit.
yes.
So I've seen the tragedies of car accidents, and I have seen what happens. sometimes faces are gone. Sometimes parts of the faces are gone. There's a part of artistry that plays a role in that here. And if that is a part, so let's do a hypothetical. There's a car accident, tremendous problems with the face, like we're like missing. You're putting Play-Doh up there to get that to try and reconstruct. How long will that body be able to stay that way before it doesn't work anymore?
Well, what happens is when we was in schools, we have a class in our class in school called restorative art. It's part of our curriculum. We use clay, but when more or less we get out here and it happens in the real world, we use wax because clay can move and stain. Wax, and then we burn it, we melt it, and in that way it stays longer.
So you're telling me that reconstruction into a face after an accident is actually done with melted wax that you're reconstructing on the face?
Yeah, you try to do a basket weave, and then you more or less heat up the wax, you smear it on the face, then you make it smooth, and let it dry, and then it gives you the capability to put makeup on.
That is something I never knew, and that is brilliant and so interesting to know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I love that. Is there any other things that you'd like to give some knowledge to people that, are afraid, or it's really nothing to be afraid of, and we all said it's just part of life, but I think the artistry and the beauty of what people that do in your industry, a lot of people just become too wigged out and it's taken for granted. And so we came today on the first podcast, you're our first podcast,
okay,
because we wanted to tell the world it's nothing to be afraid of. It's an artwork, it certainly is. And that we wanted to explain to people the process. I saw somewhere that if someone goes into a coffin and talk to me about how do the bodies fit in the coffins, because there's some tricks for that, right?
Well, the body is, caskets are usually standard. Everybody's more or less standard, except you get somebody that's oversized. You may get a 1X, a 2X casket, but they'll use a machine, a body lift, and they'll place the person in the casket and things of that nature. And you just fold the arms, make it natural. Some funeral homes put the arms to the side, but the body is fixated. Like when I finish embalming, I usually tie the hands together because that's the way they're going to be inside the casket.
Talk to me. Talk to me, talk to me. Yeah. How are you tying the hands? I need to know this.
Well, I'll put a sheet here, a little piece of sheet, and I tie the hands, and I throw it over, and I cross it, and like this, and it'll get fixated just like that.
Now, does that get removed, or is that there?
No, it gets removed, but the hands are going to stay like that. So even when I get the body dressed and the hands come apart, when I put them in when I place them in the casket, you can just put it back. It's going to stay like that because it was fixated like this.
Really? Okay. Now, one of my not so favorite things that I've had to deal with a lot is the word rigor mortis.
Okay.
People have no idea what a pain in the rigor mortis is. Okay, so we know the highs and the lows of rigor mortis, and if I get the body, I'm going through the highs and the lows, and I have to wait in a lot of my processing, right? As you know, what people don't realize for me is when that body's at the height of rigor mortis, I have to fingerprint that body.
Right.
So I'm going in to try and play games to see if I'm going up, I'm going down, and when I can get in there. Now, if the body comes recently early, right, not by me, there's no crime, nobody got hurt,
right? It's
just a natural death. When that natural death comes here, explain to me how you handle the rigor mortis.
Well, rigor mortis let me explain it. It's the lactic acid breaking down in your body. And what happens is, this is how it happens, like athletes. If you're running long distance, you're playing long distance, you got to drink Gatorade, Powerade, because the sugar and salts replace the fluid that you lost sweating. When you're running, doing something short term, you use water. If you're doing something long term and you just use water, your body's going to start cramping. So that's exactly what it is. It's a Charlie horse. Imagine a Charlie horse in your leg, in the back of your leg, that will not go away.
It takes over your whole body?
It takes over your whole body. Just get a Charlie horse, and it takes a while act like you don't move around too much, the Charlie horse eventually go away. But when you're dead, it takes a couple of hours to go away because the body is heating up. It's not recognizing what's going on. So it's trying to defend itself. Everything goes through heat.
We will really use that periodically as points of reference of how long maybe the body was there, due to the where we are in effects of the rigor mortis. So we will use that. That's pretty for us. And then it does have a breakdown period where you're like, fabulous timing.
And what happens with rigor mortis too is we have to relieve the rigor mortis as much as we can because it opens up the arteries and the circulatory system for the fluid to go to the extremities.
Okay, I don't have that on my end, so tell me about that on your end, because we don't do that. We just do the autopsy and we don't pay attention to it. So when it's coming here on that natural death, tell me how you're going to manipulate that rigor mortis for you to be able to embalm.
What happens is the fingers are sometimes like that.
Horrible.
You stretch it back.
Yeah.
Everything is stretched back. If the arms are tight, you go like that, and stretch it back, and like that. And make everything flaccid. You make everything flaccid. You lift up the leg, go back and forth with the knee, go to the other side, going back and forth with the knee, with the head, you turn it left and right, because you want to get the circulatory system and the vessels ready for the embalming fluid. If it's too rigid and tight, you're going to have a hard time with the body getting the fluid.
Getting the fluid. Yeah, it's really amazing though to see that when the body goes into that part of it, and it's quite early, when it does that you're just like, ugh.
Yes.
Because I have had some fist fights with some dead people with some rigor mortis trying to get some prints up.
It can be very tough. Very
tough. And for some reason it always goes into this. It's like, there's never anyone like this. So we've it's a beautiful science. I think that people have to really get acclimated and not find it to be so scary and unthinkable. And I thank you today. Is there anything else you'd like to tell somebody out there what happens when you date and you go, when people say, what do you do for a living? I need to know that response.
Well, they tell you, it depends. If I look like Lurch from the Addams Family, they're going to get up and go, oh no. I told I look okay, so I usually don't get that. They give me a shock, like, oh, you really, they say you don't look like a mortician. So they may say I look too young or something like that, or morticians don't usually look the way you do. But that's what I am.
Well, I said I was a psychic medium, and as you can see, that date didn't go well.
What happens, you have 206 bones in your body, and he broke, when you get strangled, he broke only one bone in your body that's singular, and that's the hyoid bone. Once that's crushed, very small bone, and that's crushed, and that's how the strangulation happens.
And that is such a small, fragile bone.
Yes.
That it's mind-boggling.
Yes.
I had a male that was stabbed so many times. I mean, just all small stabbings throughout the whole body. There wasn't a part of him that didn't have it. He died from 2.
Right.
Only 2 of them killed him.
Wow.
After all being stabbed all over, it was just 2 that hit right. And after hours and hours, because we have to measure them, we have to measure the width, we have to measure the depth of each and every one, which has to be described, photographed, and then we report on. So I'm like, after all those hours with the ME, this poor guy died only on 2. But, listen, when God takes us and God sends us to you naturally, that's the beauty of life, that we could say it was our time. When, God forbid, it's something along my guidelines of the strangulation, it is the things that I was called to. It was me having to walk in and see the most horrific things that animals do. Human beings are the worst animals. It's not animals, it's humans.
Right.
And we see what other humans do to other humans. That's the tragedy. So when people have to really accept that and say, listen, my mom, my dad, my sister, whoever God decided to call upon, and they see you, that's a blessing. When they see us, it's a whole different story. So, but come on over here and let's wish everybody. I want to thank my dear friend for working with me today, and I want to say Happy Halloween! Happy Halloween!